Hello everybody, Dokkan Assets here. Today we are back with another Dragon Ball figure unboxing video. Of course, recapping the last 2 weeks of everything that happened in the world of Dragon Ball figures. I do want to apologize again. I know usually this is a series that goes up on Sunday over the weekend, and this time I was actually going to be on time. Last time, ironically enough, one of these went up on a Tuesday, and well, this one's also going up on a Tuesday, as you can see here, 12 days ago at the time of this recording. But my internet was out this weekend. So that kind of put a wrench in all of my plans, and we did not get internet back till later. And unfortunately, with a bunch of other stuff that I had going on and some other videos I was making and whatnot, I had to push this video back until now. So I'm not taking the L this time. This one's my internet company. But nonetheless, though, we are back with some more Dragon Ball figure news. We'll take a look at everything that we have been sitting on for the past 2 weeks. By the way, before we get started, I did actually upload 2 figure unboxings within the last 2 weeks, as you can see here. It seems like YouTube probably isn't pushing them out as much because, of course, the last couple of months I haven't been doing figure unboxings as much, right? Like, basically ending with Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta and I guess Goku. You know, I've been doing a lot more, like, news content sort of thing. So, definitely go check those out if you have not seen them yet. Both of those are great videos. And let's go ahead and get into our starting point. So we actually have 2 figures that, funny enough, these basically dropped like the day after I had my video go up for the actual what do you call it, for the actual figure news video for last, or 2 weeks ago, I guess I should say now. We have the new spec version of the base form figurized standard Vegeta. If you are unfamiliar with what this is, basically this company, well, I mean, it's really just Bandai. I guess I should say this figure line, right? Figurized Standard is a figure line that is known for their model kits. These are Dragon Ball made model kits that you can build yourself, right? They give you all of the pieces just like a Gundam model kit, except you make, you know, basically a Dragon Ball character out of these. And they've been going back and doing some of their old characters and re-releasing them as this new spec sort of thing here. And you can actually pick this guy up on Big Bad Toy Store for 32 bucks. By the way, again, this guy is just base form Vegeta. As far as I'm aware, he doesn't really come with anything else. I will say, I'm not a big fan of the face, if I'm being 100% honest with you. I think that in the beginning, the faces on the figurized standard figures were kind of and they improved over time. And I will say with the new spec Goku, which is here, it's kind of hard to see his face. But I thought that he looked pretty good and actually better than the original, bro. Have you ever had a dream that But this guy, I don't know, something about his face is definitely a little bit strange to me. I don't know, I can't really put my finger on it. It just doesn't look like Vegeta as much. It looks like an artist's render of Vegeta. But nonetheless, this guy is here now and will be released. I apparently can't speak today. Oh boy, it's going to be one of those videos. The 3rd quarter of 2023. If we go back to Big Bad Toy Store, you can see that it actually doesn't have a specific date. That's literally what it says. So definitely check this out if you're interested. Again, I'm not going to go over this in too detail because, I mean, I think most people are pretty familiar with not only model kits, but, like, obviously posability and whatnot. But obviously, it's something worth covering because, of course, it is a Dragon Ball figure. So definitely check it out. And I will say, you know, even though I don't know if I particularly enjoy this face, I really like Figurized Standard. I've built a couple of their model kits. I actually have one that I have not built sitting in my closet that I need to break out and build someday. But I've built MUI Goku and Jiren. And I really, really like those 2 figures, actually. So I think, honestly, building them is half the fun of this. And honestly, for around 30 bucks, I think a Figurized Standard figure is, like, perfect at that price. So definitely, if you want to enjoy building it, that's definitely a great aspect of it, too. Anyhow, this was the other thing that we had announced. Now, we've seen some actual promo stuff, or I guess a promo isn't really the right word. I guess the correct word here is some previews of this figure. This is, of course, the SH Figuarts Android 19, of course, Dr. Giro's right-hand man in the Cell Saga, who gets destroyed by Vegeta. And as you can see here, this guy is going to be a premium Bandai exclusive. I will say, y'all know that I'm usually not that big of a fan of premium Bandai, but personally, I think that this is a perfect figure to have as a premium Bandai release. Look at that, by the way, with the new armor Vegeta that they're releasing. Very, very cool that you can actually recreate this scene. But this is the type of thing that I think is perfect for premium Bandai, because a lot of the time I complain with premium Bandai that it's like, dude, this is a figure that should just be a general release. By the way, I'm sorry if you can hear that zipper. I'm taking my hoodie off. I'm getting a little warm. But with this type of thing, that's like, it's not like this isn't a character that people don't know, right? Like, obviously, if you watch the Cell Saga, you're like, oh, yeah, that guy. But he's not, like, a crazy popular character or anything like that. And I feel like this is a figure that's basically exclusively for a completionist who is, or, right, besides someone who's maybe trying to collect every single SH Figuarts figure. If you're trying to make, like, a setup from the Cell Saga or something like that, you know, like, obviously, having all of the Cell Saga figures sort of, like, all together on a shelf or on like an actual background or something, this would obviously be the kind of figure for you. Now, 70 bucks, it's a little bit hard to say. Obviously, it is SH Figuarts quality, so of course the quality should be good. I know sometimes Premium Bandai does kind of fumble the bag on their releases a little bit. But overall, I mean, he looks pretty good to me, right? I'm not really too much of a fan of this character. Oh, I see. So they're also including a bonus face part for Vegeta here. That's why that's there, not just to show off the scene. Interesting. It kind of seems like that they've been doing this a lot lately. Obviously, I think the biggest example of this, of course, is the SH Figuarts Ultimate Gohan from Superhero, right? Literally every superhero figure has a Gohan face in it, which I'm not really sure if I'm a fan of that, because obviously it's kind of like, well, dang, you know, now I want to buy this figure just to get these faces, or like have a quote-unquote complete figure with all these different things in it. And I don't know, as long as they don't do like a ton of them, right? Because SH Figuarts has done this for a long time. I think it's fine, right? Like doing this just for Android 19 works. And of course, this is like the iconic fight with Vegeta. So it would make sense that if they were going to do one for any other character, it would be Vegeta. I think with Gohan, it was just a little bit too much, right? Like Broly had a Gohan head. Like that doesn't even make sense, you know, in the context of the movie, right? So I digress. I think that this, excuse me, is probably like the perfect character to have like an extra Vegeta head like this. By the way, very, very cool on the accessories. Obviously, they always use this line, recreate the on-screen excitement. I always think it's so funny. It's cool that they include this part here where obviously his arms are ripped off, of course, after Vegeta rips them off. Very, very cool. That is definitely something that they could have neglected to include, but as per usual with SH Figuarts up to snuff, you love to see it. And we obviously have all of these different faces here. So wait, what is the standard head? Okay, so it is, I guess it's the smiling one? Okay, they do call it 4 optional parts, because sometimes they're like 3 heads are included, like, you know, and then it doesn't include the one that's on the body of the figure, but it looks like that this is the case. It's also kind of weird that they didn't take separate shots for this, and they didn't just like, you know, take a straight on shot for all of these, rather than, you know, they just used like the actual promo images and then just kind of, you know, crop them out for this. I mean, it's not a bad way to do it. I suppose it saves a lot of time and money probably, but I don't know, just kind of an interesting observation. Nonetheless, though, I mean, I don't really know what else you would want in an Android 20 figure. Android 19 figure, rather, excuse me, besides these, right? Like, the smile is perfect. Obviously, this is an iconic scene for the character. This, I think, is referencing a specific piece of Dragon Ball art, actually, where Shiro and 19 are looking at each other, I'm pretty sure. Obviously, this smile, definitely very appropriate for the character, and, of course, the deadpan as well. And, you know, even perfect, even more perfect, right, of course, when Android 19's freaking out when Vegeta rips his arms off. So very good. You know, I think the only other one would maybe be like when he's running away, right, and Vegeta blows him up. But I think that this face would probably work fine for that. Nonetheless, though, as you can see when we look down to our details here, you can see that there's going to be 3 left and right hands, 4 different expression parts, exchangeable arms left and right, and exchangeable head parts, plus the bonus part for Vegeta. I think that's talking about how, like, this little cap that he wears, or hat, or whatever you would want to call this, right, that covers up his chrome dome, that covers up his brain, is obviously attached, right? That's not something that you can just take off, and all of these heads have that brain under there. That would be kind of cool if they did do that, right? Like, I don't know how they would make that an attachment and have it, like, stay on there, right? They would have to have some, like, attachment mechanism, but then you would be able to see it on the head. So I'm not sure how they would do that. It is kind of a shame that you can't just take it off on all of them. But nonetheless, though, like, overall, pretty cool, I would say. Definitely, if you are a fan of Android 19, definitely worth taking a look at. And I mean, for 70 bucks, obviously, keep in mind that this is going to be more like 80 because, of course, with Premium Bandai, they charge you 10 bucks shipping. Regardless of what you buy, it literally does not matter. They will always charge you 10 bucks shipping. So this guy's going to be more like 80 bucks if you're just buying one copy of the figure. He is a bigger figure, right? Not only is he obviously pretty tall, but he's also pretty chunky, right? He's a very round lad, a very rotund lad. So, of course, you're going to be getting a lot more, you know, bang for your buck in terms of the volume of the figure, I guess. But, I don't know. I would still say that this is probably something that I would rather pay like 50 or 60 bucks for. But obviously, you know, if you're going to, you know, be getting the figure at all, you're going to have to get him this way. Unless I noticed that on dbzfigures.com, actually, if we go back to the page, they did have 2 other links where the figure was listed here, but unfortunately I think these are probably going to be more expensive. Okay, so this one is 61 euros. I don't know the exact euro to USD conversion, so my euro users would obviously be able to tell you on that one. And obviously he's super expensive at Big Bad Toy Store because they always jack up the price to try and make a profit, because obviously they have to buy it, you know, retail from the Premium Bandai website. But anyhow, moving on from that, we do have a couple of more things. Hey, God Goku. We have a couple of more things to take a look at on dbzfigures.com before we move over to Baggy's Twitter here. If we go all the way down to the bottom, this was pretty cool, if I do say so myself. You can see here that on the official Dragon Ball site, they had a series of making these life-size statues you can see at Bandai booths at conventions, and the whole process takes a huge amount of time, from creating the molds to casting the statues to painting. The series shows the entire process of how they make these and focus on 3 baddies. Jiren, Hit, and Goku Black. I don't know if I would call Jiren a baddie in the regard of him being a villain, but okay. I always thought that they were plaster formed to save weight, but it looks like they're molded from plaster. Interesting. Yeah, so as you can see, they have a whole article on this at the Dragon Ball official website. And you probably recognize some of these, especially this one if you've been watching my channel for a little bit. Back in 2021, we did a video where we looked at the virtual Comic-Con, and they had, like, the statues there, which was pretty cool. At Jump Festa 2023, they had the Gohan and Piccolo, obviously for Superhero, which is pretty cool. And they talk about basically the creation of these giant statues. If you want to read this article, obviously I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but nonetheless, obviously it's super interesting because, you know, this is a lot of, like, insight into, you know, how not just, you know, statues and stuff like that are made, but figures and stuff like that. And as you can see, there's actually a part 2. Apparently the hardest part is getting the expression right. That's really ironic considering Bandai. Right there, there are the variations from event to event, so it takes some experience to get this right. This also got me thinking how much this would cost, since they mention it takes 1,120 to make this, and what happens if the statue gets damaged during shipping. I assume he means over $1,000. This could easily be the 5 figures to buy, then probably ship it in parts like Pam Presto figure and assemble it yourself. That's funny. But yeah, so again, they just talk about more of everything, and I think the article actually continued in the other one because these images... Oh no, this is some new stuff, yeah. So if you're interested in this sort of thing, definitely check it out because I think it's very interesting and it's definitely worth it to, you know, like, kind of understand how these are made. And obviously, if you've ever been to one of these events yourself, you would probably know that you've probably seen these at the event, right? I know that we've seen these guys at Comic-Con and stuff like that. Goku literally got Mike Wazowski there. That's funny. You know, these have obviously been at different events and stuff like that. But I mean, this is Dragon Ball figure news, right? We got to cover figures big and small. So pretty cool, to say the least on that one. Dragon Ball Weekly News, we got some information about Xenoverse 2, and finally Sandland, that it's actually going to be a movie. Unfortunately, nothing too crazy in terms of figures for this, but they did mention that there's apparently going to be a set of acrylic displays featuring iconic covers from the manga. These will be available from Gashball machines across Japan. Hopefully they make their way here. That's pretty cool. I'm wondering if it's going to be something like the Dragon Ball logos that we took a look at a while ago. Maybe we will see those actual images at some point in the future. Okay, so this was pretty interesting. The Dragon Ball Flash series, I'm sure you guys maybe remember me talking about this, because the Dragon Ball Flash series was basically like a new figure line that got debuted. Oh boy. I want to say in 2020. I don't remember exactly because obviously this is not exactly in my realm of expertise when it comes to figure collecting, because this is a little, I don't want to say low end, because I mean, like, I collect figures that are $20 and that makes me sound very pompous, you know, but obviously these guys are very, very small, right? They are 4 inches and they cost about $7 a pop. Very weird that he said that they should have been released already, but he hasn't seen anyone carrying them. But as you can see, here they are, right? Obviously, they come in this pretty cool packaging. I believe the Vegeta and Goku look like they're Fenyo art, but this Goku Black I actually have on a t-shirt, and I don't think that that's Fenyo art, if I'm being honest with you. But nonetheless, pretty cool. Obviously, again, these are little minifigures. Are these going to be blurry? That's so weird that that image is really blurry like that. Nonetheless, though, right, obviously, these guys are pretty cool. I think these would be, like, perfect little desk figures, to be honest with you. I'd kind of be curious to get one of these. I've always wanted to own, like, one of every Dragon Ball figure line, like, just one figure from it, just to kind of take a look and give it a little bit of an analysis. But this is a pretty cool set, and obviously, it's nice to see that they're actually keeping some theming here, because a lot of the time with these Dragon Ball sets, they're kind of all over the place in character choice, so it's cool at least that they are, you know, like kind of keeping this thematic with obviously Vegeta, Goku, and Rose here obviously being the Goku Black arc, so pretty cool. And the bases should also have the actual characters' faces on it. I know it's kind of hard to see it here, and hopefully we'll get an image, but you can kind of see Goku's hair there, Vegeta's hair, and Rose there, so pretty cool. And it's nice to see that this series is still going. It'll be interesting to see what they do with it in the future, you know, what other characters they add to it. Okay, 2 more things. We did get the Dragon Ball Weekly News for the next week that was around here. And as you can see, we actually got a bunch of figure news here. The main focus of this week's episode was the Ichiban Kuji Ginyu Force. Victor Uchida has a complete set of the samples. Was impressed by the level of detail, as well as the sculpt on Goku's gi. His favorite was Ghoul, though. That's funny. So if you would like to watch the video, obviously you can take a look at it here. Of course, I don't want to play it all the way through because copyright, but besides the fact that obviously those boys were in there with the Ichiban Kuji set, you can see that they also talked about the Dragon Stars of Vegeta, Gamma 2, and Gohan in there as well, which is pretty cool. But obviously a little bit of a close-up look on the Ginyu Force here, which is pretty neat, right? Obviously he's just talking about each individual figure. And funny enough, we will actually see the images from these later, because I know Baggy made a tweet about these, like the little close-ups that they took from this video, so we won't have to scroll through and, you know, try and pause it and whatnot. But if you would like to watch the full video, obviously, of course, I always link DBZ Figures and Baggy Sain's Twitter in the link in the description below, so you can just go, you know, on this website and then scroll down and find the article if you are interested. But we'll take a look at more detailed stuff on that. And, of course, the Frieza Force Ichiban Kuji is available on Big Bad Toy Store if you did miss it. Again, unfortunately, very, very overpriced. It seemed like the Dragon Ball figures was just wishful thinking that they were going to be lowering the price of Ichiban Kuji figures, because, oh boy! These guys are pretty expensive, if I do say so myself. And I believe that this one here, yes. So, we talked about these guys last week. The DXF Trunks, the History Box Orange Piccolo, the BOS Gohan, and the Master Roshi, right? All of these guys are available on Big Bad Toy Store. Obviously, they'll be available other places to pick up too, but I know a lot of people use Big Bad Toy Store, so, you know, it's just kind of good to know that they're there. Not sponsored or anything like that. I just like the website. But anyway, moving on from Big Bad Toy Store, moving on from dbzfigures.com, of course, shout out to them as always. Thank you for holding it down with the figure news. Let's go ahead and go over to Baggy's Twitter. We did get some more images of Orange Piccolo here, some very cool close-up angles. This is really, really awesome, if I do say so myself. I really, really like the detail on the fire. For this being just a prize figure, this guy looks amazing, right? I'm really hoping that the details that are captured here, right? You can even see like the little scratch marks and the little detailing in Piccolo's pants if you look at this very closely, right? I'm really hoping that this actual detail like remains on the final product, because obviously when it comes to Bandai figures, a lot of the time they tend to be very, very hyped up in the beginning and look great with the production images, and then the final images are just awful, or, well, I guess I should say the final version of the figure rather than the final images, but hopefully this guy turns out alright. This was also an interesting thing to note. Apparently, the figure is 14 centimeters. However, as Baggy notes here, official heights are weird, like the BOS Gohan was 13 centimeters, but will really be 18 from the hair. So assume Piccolo will be like 16 to 17 IRL, since he is quite bulky. Yeah, for some reason the sizes like haven't really been correct lately. Classic Bandai being Bandai. So, you know, what do you expect from them, I suppose? We do have some multi-angles on Trunks here. Again, I am very excited for this figure. I mean, y'all know that I'm just excited for anything superhero related, so definitely looking forward to that guy. We have the official heights for all of these figures. Again, these are probably going to end up being a little bit different when they actually come out. BOS Future Gohan being 19 centimeters and GX Materia Roshi being 13 sounds incredibly wrong to me just from owning figures from this particular line. So, you know, we'll have to see. But DXF Trunks 15 centimeters and Orange Piccolo 14. Again, we'll see when we actually get them. A good way to be able to tell too, before we actually get these in our hands, right, will be when people post pictures of these guys, or if we see them at an event or something like that, and they have them next to some figures that we kind of already know the actual height for. So that'll be a good way to get an idea. We have this very adorable Dragon Ball Adverge 16 promo image here. Obviously, this is the set containing the Dragon Ball Adverge Beast and Orange Piccolo. I am definitely going to be picking up this set. Listen, I really do not pick up full Dragon Ball Adverge sets ever, actually. I didn't even do it for the Broly movie, and I had the opportunity for it, but by golly, I might just have to for this little guy. We have a couple more IRL images of the Retsuden Super Saiyan Goku here. Again, I am incredibly excited for this figure. I was holding out... oh, and there's the box for Vegeta. I was holding out for Goku, hoping for the Super Saiyan version to be just as good as the base form version, and it seems that my prayers have been answered. I was trying to translate this tweet here, but it's not doing it. There we go. Okay, so it's literally just saying that it's in stock. Yeah, my man looks fantastic, if I do say so myself. And then the other little thing we got here is that the GX Materia 16 releases April 6th. The Solid Edgeworks Vegeta releases the 13th. So definitely going to be looking forward to those guys. Those are two figures that I'm absolutely going to cop. I've been really looking forward to both of these guys, especially Vegeta. Like 16, I love the GX Material line. I'll probably buy every single one. But like, oh, dude, look at that, man. Alright, we're going through the gauntlet for a little bit here. So, for the August Ban Presto Dragon Ball and My Hero figure factory confirmations, we have China giving us the Master Roshi, History Box Piccolo, and the BOS Gohan. And we also have Vietnam giving us the Trunks. Now, Trunks is unsurprising considering this current run of these superhero DXF figures has basically exclusively been made in Vietnam. And I don't think that it's been so bad so far. I've seen a couple of them that have definitely not really turned out that great. However, not only did I obviously just literally a couple days ago upload the Piccolo video this week, the Gohan video is going to be coming, and I think that the figures are alright. They're definitely not my favorite figures in the world, and they're definitely not like the best figures that I own by any means, but they're definitely not bad, right? I think that they're fairly solid, right? Like, it's something that I could still recommend somebody buying. But the interesting thing about this, right, is that of course with GX Materia and BOS, they have both been having their figures made in China for a while. However, Vietnam has been basically exclusively responsible for the History Box series up until now. So it is quite interesting that Orange Piccolo is actually going to be made in China. I am honestly pretty excited to see that, because if you're unaware how it kind of was in the beginning, it's been a little bit better these days. And ironically enough, there's still been some figures that have come out of China that I feel like I've looked at and been like, yikes. But nonetheless, originally when Vietnam started getting some of these figures to be made, they kind of turned out pretty poor quality. And a lot of figures were basically just like ruined. Like, you might as well not even buy them because they were just that bad. Nowadays, they've gotten a lot better about it. They're still not perfect, and typically they are not as good as the figures that come out of the Chinese factory, but they're still pretty good. However, it's interesting to see that Piccolo has been given the China treatment here, so I am going to be very curious to see how he turns out, especially considering that they haven't done it in the History Box stuff yet. I'm hoping that means he's going to look even better than he could have potentially before. This is definitely a good thing, right? It's a very good sign. So we'll have to see when we get some final images of the boy Orange Piccolo. Very interesting stuff there. Very cute right here. A Bulma and a Goku. Obviously Kid Goku and Kid Bulma. Very, very cool. I believe this is Goku with 30 and Bulma with 10. Yeah, that definitely makes sense there. Very, very cool, though, for these guys to be released. These are actually very, very adorable, I'm not going to lie. We also had a little interesting piece about Future Gohan here that was something definitely worth noting. There is a Dragon Ball Z Solid Edgeworks scheduled for September. Keep in mind, Gohan is part of the August lineup of figures, right? So I'd hold off on ordering the BOS Future Gohan until next month in case the Solid Edgeworks is a Future Gohan, since there aren't that many DBZ characters left. So Solid Edgeworks could be a good chance it could be Future Gohan. Yeah. So if you've been looking for a very solid Future Gohan figure, I actually don't have a single one. The only other one that I've ever had the opportunity to buy was the Dragon Ball Legends one, and I always thought that that one was kind of like, to be honest. Like, that was, I think, the only Dragon Ball Legends figure for me that was like a pretty big miss. Nonetheless, though, definitely will be a good idea to keep this in mind, right? It could be anybody, of course, right? Obviously, with Solid Edgeworks doing Dragon Ball Z characters, like, it could literally be anybody. But for some reason, Bam Presto does love to release characters that they just released as figures. I don't know why they do it that way, but that's just kind of the way they do it. I've seen it a ton of times in the past. It's very weird. But nonetheless, definitely a good idea just to hold off until then. And, you know, or I mean, you could just pre-order and I guess cancel it if you really want to. But just something good to note. And we'll be curious to see what that figure in September actually ends up being. Here are some high quality production images for the Master Roshi, of course. These are the plain ones, you know, not the ones that are sort of artistically stylized. Very cool. It is kind of unfortunate, I will say, that he doesn't really have like a lot of muscle definition on his back. But to be fair, I guess that is a little bit more like Dragon Ball-esque, the sort of like simpler details. But then again, like, they were still jacked in Dragon Ball, especially Master Roshi. So I don't know, but of course, overall, I think the figure looks really good. I mean, they certainly made the front of the figure very jacked, so definitely no lack of muscles there for sure. We definitely got a couple of extra images here too. Anime Japan was this weekend, which we're actually going to get a bunch of images. Not expecting anything new, but might show off the May finals. And yes, we are going to be getting a bunch of stuff in a moment here. Okay, so I know that this is something that people may not technically consider a Dragon Ball figure, but by golly, I am including it. The absolute GOAT the Japanese voice actor for Goku, Masako Nozawa, is actually getting her own Nendoroid, which is super cool. As you can see, Baggy made a tweet here from playing with Goku figures. Nozawa now actually has her own Nendoroid, which is super cool. Definitely a great way to honor a living legend with such a fantastic figure line, you know, sort of bringing the helm on this one, and not to mention obviously a very iconic individual in the, you know, Japanese voice acting space. I mean just all over the world. I mean, who doesn't know Goku, right? Obviously, this is a super, super cool figure. I am absolutely going to be picking this up. I never buy figures of, like, real people or anything like that, you know, because I'm a dweeb. I buy Dragon Ball and Pokemon and Nintendo figures of fictional people. But, like, I got to get this out of principle, bro. I ain't a real Dragon Ball fan if I don't buy this. You know what I mean? But, yeah, very, very cool. Here are some IRL pictures. I am guessing, by the way, that this thing is probably going to be like 50, 60 bucks. I mean, that's usually like how much Nendoroids are, as far as I remember. I don't know. I haven't bought an Nendoroid in a while. I've only bought like one or two in my life anyway. So I'm not as well versed on the retail price of Nendoroids, but nonetheless, looks fantastic, right? Like, absolutely, like, I think nails a sort of Nendoroid version of Nozawa, right? Absolutely looks like her to a T. They did a good job. I'm going to be interested to see what accessories it comes with and what other faceplates, because obviously this is just the one figure on display at the event. So of course they're not showing you like all the different parts and stuff like that. It's just the figure on display. So that'll be curious. It would be so funny if she came with like a little Goku figure or something like that. I don't know if they have the copyright for that, because obviously, like, I think probably her, I mean, is it like wrong of me to say that her most famous character is Goku? I mean, like, I would think that would be obvious, right? But I don't know if they necessarily have the rights to like Dragon Ball for this. You know, I'm sure it's just the license to like use her likeness. So I don't know if they could include anything related to her roles, right? Like even obviously outside of Dragon Ball stuff. But nonetheless, very, very cool. Definitely going to be interested to see more on that figure in the future. We did get some IRL images of Android 16. This guy looks fantastic again. Dude, it's like perfectly 16. Of course, as per usual, sculpted by the absolute GOAT, my boy Varroque Varquo. Still don't know how to pronounce his name. Always knocking it out of the park with these. He looks fantastic, if I do say so myself. And I know y'all want to see it, so don't worry, I'll get to it. As you can see here, our boy YP, this is a Japanese figure YouTuber. I watch this guy from time to time. He went to Anime Japan, and actually it took a couple of pictures for the boys. Let's go. As you can see here, we have the actual DXF Gohan Beast in person, which is very, very cool. I will say, I quite like this guy. He is basically what I was expecting of the quality of a DXF figure. It's kind of ironic because you can see, it's always so funny to me that Bandai, you know, I know Bam Presto is like technically who's responsible, but Bandai owns all these companies, so I just say Bandai because like that's really who's at the helm here. That's the mastermind pulling the strings behind the scenes. That sounds like some anime villain shenanigans, but you get my point. You can see there's a little overspray on the skin, and it's supposed to be his skin anyway, that's like coming out of the little bit of the purple of the rip there. But I mean, again, very basic, looks like a DXF figure. I don't know if these little like blotches are on the glass or actually like on the plastic of the figure. I hope not. It kind of just looks like a reflection to me. Actually here, I guess we could figure out if we, yeah, no, that's definitely just a reflection on the glass, because that's not there on this particular image. But nonetheless, I think the hair is pretty good, right? The Beast hair has kind of been depicted like a couple of different ways. I definitely think it's pretty big, right? Like, obviously, the angle they have it at, it's not going to give you the full, like, idea of how really big it is, because we've seen a couple of pictures from the production images to show you it's, like, huge, right? Because this still looks like it's pretty big, but it's not ridiculous. That's what I was going to say. It's not ridiculously big in this photo, but I think it is IRL. Nonetheless, I mean, he looks pretty good, right? It's basically what I was expecting. Nothing too crazy. I will say his face does look still, like, a little bit weird. Like, it's not really any different from the one that we saw in the production images, which is good because, I mean, most of the time it tends to look quite a bit different from the production images. But it kind of has like an old man sort of look. I don't know if it's like the creases that are pretty deep, like above his eyebrows, or like the part that is his eyebrows. I don't know. But I don't think he looks bad. I think he just looks interesting, right? It'll definitely be curious to see him compared to like the DXF Ultimate Gohan for sure. But he still looks very, very cool if I do say so myself. We also have the... Oh, man, look at my boy. Oh, he looks amazing. The GX Materia Feet Kamehameha Goku. Excuse me, I'm burping. Holy cow. The top half looks absolutely fantastic. And the bottom half as well looks great. Obviously, capturing this scene very, very well, if I do say so myself. There's a little bit of a side look there. Man, I'm really excited to see this guy in person. I say in every video, you know, I'm a big fan of the GX material line, but by golly, that's good. Alright, so we got some IRL pictures of Majin Vegeta. I'm happy to say that this guy looks fantastic. Obviously, with these Solid Edgeworks figures, they tend to be hit or miss. They've been a lot better lately. But by golly, I think they nailed it with my boy Vegeta. Holy! Look at him strut his stuff, bro. The expression is perfect on both of these guys. The hair is perfect on both of these guys. I love that they added all the crazy veins for Majin Vegeta. So cool looking, if I do say so myself. Definitely knocked it out of the park with the Solid Edgeworks Vegeta. And we have the Solid Edgeworks Bojack movie Trunks. Very, very cool stuff here. I think this guy also looks really, really good as well. They nailed the jacket for sure. I will say for me personally, I think I definitely prefer the base form for Trunks. I think that the hair is almost a little bit like too spiked up, weirdly enough. I don't know. And something about his face looks a little bit weird, which is strange because it, you know, it's basically the same thing as the base form one. I don't know if it's just this particular angle. Let's actually zoom in on a little bit. Yeah, I don't know. I think it might just be the angle. But personally, I feel like the base form one captures Trunks' likeness a lot more. It could be my eyes playing tricks on me for sure. Oh, you can also see his green phone right there in the reflection. That's kind of funny. But yeah, definitely, though, does not look bad whatsoever. I think they both look really, really good. And I know a lot of people are excited for these because a lot of people really like the BoJack movie. And, of course, we literally never get merch of this movie. I don't even think I've ever seen a BoJack figure or a figure of BoJack Squad besides maybe like a small mini Gashapon figure or something like that. But definitely excited for this bad boy. I am absolutely going to cop the base form Trunks 100%. Very, very cool. And we did also get the May Matchmakers Finals for Goku and Frieza. I will say, personally, I think these actually look a lot better than the original production images that we got. I remember Goku specifically looking a little bit weird. Frieza was a little bit better looking, I think, in the original images. But especially looking at this, Goku's likeness is very, very close to this particular era of Dragon Ball. And I feel like his hair looks a lot more like it's actually blowing in the wind, rather than just being kind of chunks that are sort of moved in a different direction. All of the lineage here is also very interesting. Like, I don't want to say it's a lot more thin lines because that's kind of a weird thing to say. But look at all of these, like, there's a ton of lines in the pants here, right? There's a ton of lines here in the legs, right? Obviously in the gi, right, as well. These are very thin, right? The actual, like, obi belt, and there's a ton of lines there as well, especially his hair. There's a ton of lines there, right? Very interesting sculpt work here. I don't know if we've talked about who sculpted this before, because this doesn't look like much of from what I've seen from Dragon Ball figures recently. It's not like, obviously it's just different, right? Because I was gonna say it's not bad or it's not good in terms of, like, you know, how it looks, right? I think it's just different, right? And not to say that it's bad or good in the way of, like, I don't like it, right? I mean, I think it looks good to me. I just think it's, like, sort of a different art style, right? Is basically what I'm trying to get at. But I think it looks good. I definitely like it a lot. And Frieza also looks really good. It's kind of hard to mess up Frieza, you know. He's a pretty easy design to get, I feel like. I will say, though, I'm not really a big fan of these, like, super lines under his eyes. I know it's supposed to be like that, like, anime-esque effect, but I could definitely do without those. It kind of looks like there might be a little bit of paint mess up there, too. But overall, I think these are cool. Definitely looking forward to seeing these guys for sure. We also have some more close-ups of these guys. Solid edge rush. Dude, he looks so good. He looks so good. I'm so happy he turned out great, bro. Listen, we may not have gotten a crazy amount of stuff for the BoJack movie, and you know, here's the other Trunks, by the way. Yeah, maybe it's just because he's looking down deeper than the base form Trunks that his face looks a little bit weird. Like, I feel like the V of his eyebrows is like deeper than the one on the base form. Maybe it's just because his chin is a little bit lower. I don't know. Something about the face definitely looks a little bit like less like Trunks than this one does to me personally. And also, like, I don't know, the hair looks almost like too spiked. I don't know. Maybe I'm just not remembering the scene or something like that. Let me know in the comment section below what you think for sure. Movie 9 Gohan, though, here. I mean, he looks okay, right? Obviously, this is, you know, just a remake, re-release, reuse, you know, whatever you want to call it, of the previous Gohan, right? Where obviously it was the one from the Cell Saga, and, you know, the first version of this figure in, you know, literally like a decade and some change. It's just a reuse of another figure, which is so unfortunate. He looks alright though, definitely not bad, just very basic in my opinion. I might get the Super Saiyan 2 one, just because, like, when are we going to get a Gohan from this movie again? And obviously he's a lot more iconic in Super Saiyan 2 in this particular, you know, outfit. So, yeah, we'll see. Definitely pretty excited for him, though. Okay, we got some more pictures of the DXF Gohan Beast. I think this angle is definitely a lot better than the previous ones. Obviously, that was, like, one that wasn't taken by, like, a professional camera or whatever, you know, it's just like a phone. But yeah, looking at this, and especially looking at the close-up, like, I think this guy does look very, very good. Again, I'm going to kind of save my final judgment for seeing him in person. But overall, I think he looks really good. I'm pretty excited for this figure. It's definitely not the Gohan Beast figure that I'm the most excited for. Like, I think at this point, right, if I can get the Ichiban Kuji one for a good price on that one. But probably the BOS one is the one that I'm most excited for now. But in terms of completion, obviously I'm definitely going to get this. And not to mention, I mean, like, it's probably going to turn into Blue Gogeta, where I was like, oh yeah, I only need one Blue Gogeta, and now I have like 6, and I'm still getting more. Gohan Beast is probably going to turn into that, where every Gohan Beast figure that comes out, I'm going to end up buying, basically. But we'll see. Nonetheless, he looks very, very good. And some close-ups of the GX Materia Goku, again, looks fantastic, if I do say so myself. And as you can see here, a interesting height comparison from the BOS Super Saiyan Gohan here to the DXF Gohan. It's very interesting, honestly, because the DXF line really isn't that big, right? Like, I'm looking over at my Ultimate Gohan in the corner of my room. Like, it's really not that big of a line. So, either this, like, BOS figure is incredibly tiny, which the line is not small by any means. Like, it's a pretty regular size, like, prize figure, right? Like, it's pretty average, all things considered. So, like, of course Gohan is gonna be, you know, a lot taller, right? I mean, with the hair, you know, my man's got basically like an extra 1/4 of his body length on top of his head. But this looks almost like bigger, which is really weird. I don't know. Again, I'm going to kind of have to get my hands on this guy to be sure. I mean, the base looks the exact same as the rest of the line. It's kind of funny that this guy's talking about the white base. I think he just doesn't know that the entire line is like that, where they all have this like white base with the superhero logo on that. But yeah, I don't know. Like, this seems like he's really big, but this could just sort of be like an optical illusion type of thing, right? I mean, to be fair, look at the card right next to Super Saiyan Gohan here. And the card next to DXF Gohan, he looks really big. So either they upscaled the base, or this is just a trick of the eyes, or this guy's just incredibly tiny. I don't know. Again, the official height is 17 centimeters, but there's no way that this seems correct, because I think this guy was around like 14 or 13. So I don't know. We'll have to see when this guy comes out, or if we can see him compared to some other figures in the future. But yeah, he's definitely okay, right? He's definitely not too bad. Obviously, it's always exciting to get new figures of the new form. But he is very basic in nature, right? I think for sure. This is... Oh, yeah, this was also kind of funny, right? The biggest irony in all of this is that it is a non-Bandai company making the Nozawa figure. Obviously, you know, being Nendroid, which would be Good Smile. Very ironic, to say the least. I know going up here, this was something else interesting to note about the DXF Gohan Beast. So, the May initial production image versus the final production image versus the actual final, right? So this is a perfect example here of when I talk about how these initial production images especially, and even a lot of the times the final production images, are not to be trusted in terms of what you're actually going to get when you open the box, right? Like, sure, it's a basic, like, okay, this is sort of what I'm going to get. But look, going from this to this, right? Of course, keep in mind, there is a lot of things going on at play here, right? The coloring of these two images is a little bit different, right? Obviously, this is almost more like a blue color, right? And a very, like, dark red, rather than this almost be... Well, I guess this is maybe just a brighter blue. I guess I should say this is almost, like, closer to purplish blue, right? Where these colors are a lot more brighter. And obviously, the hair is a lot more white, rather than, like, on this one, it's very, like... very plain gray, right? Like almost like a dirty gray. And this one looks a lot more of like that white-ish gray, right? Definitely a huge difference. And also you can see like on the hair, right? Obviously it is a little bit of a different angle on the figure. But this bang looks a lot smaller, and especially this hair spike at the top looks a ton smaller than this. Again, it could just be the angling, because the angling is very similar, but this definitely looks a little bit more front-facing than this one, right? This definitely looks like a little bit more of a top angle, but like that definitely looks a lot bigger to me. Nonetheless. And then obviously the final version of the figure here, right? So again, even, I mean, like, especially going from this one, right, to this one, these figures look very different. But I think especially going from this one to this one, you can see that they still look very, very different in nature. So, you know, this is definitely what I'm talking about here, and a prime example of it is the basics of what will be there for the figure, but you really don't know what the final product is going to look like until you actually see the in-person images of it. Because, like, these two are not the same thing as this, at least in my mind, right? And, like, how I'm processing this and looking at it, right? At least to me. You can let me know in the comments what you think, for sure. But I think that this is a good example of that. However, I definitely agree. I like the hair and the coloring a lot more on the final version. And I will say, I definitely think that the face, at least out of all of these for me, right? This one looked kind of scrunched to me, right? It was okay. This one looks a lot more like an artist rendition. And this one looks a lot more like Gohan to me, despite kind of still looking a little bit off in my opinion. But, you know, because there's some figures that just instantly to me scream that sort of Roger Rabbit effect, right? Where they sort of pop right off the screen, right? It's not a figure of Gohan, it is Gohan, right? But in this case, even though I still think that this is just a figure of Gohan, I think it still looks very good. But nonetheless, yeah, definitely some very good improvements here, for sure. Yeah, baggy notes here again with the 17 centimeter thing. The official height probably a bit taller IRL since they didn't measure the head or the hair, it seems. So obviously then that makes the figure a lot taller. Very interesting stuff, to say the least there. We have some more production images for Trunks, looking very, very sleek. See, this face too, right? Let's go back to that actual image of Trunks. I literally scrolled past it by accident. Anyway, here's the production image, and here is the actual image of the figure, right? It's definitely very close, but it certainly has a couple... Let me actually zoom out a little bit. It definitely has like a couple of differences, I think. They're very slight, but if you look at these images right side by side, I do think they look a slightly bit different. The hair, I will say, though, definitely, maybe, again, I think I still think this, so it looks a little bit strange, but at least it's pretty consistent from this to this, but I feel like the face does look a tiny bit different, if I do say so myself. Nonetheless, though, again, these guys both look really, really good. In my opinion. We got some more IRL pictures from Anime Japan of a bunch of different figures. Here is Gohan again. Again, just kind of basic in my opinion. Like, he definitely doesn't look too bad. It's kind of interesting that this Gohan seems to be looking another way, unless it's just because, see, this guy is looking front, but they have this figure tilted away. I think that's just what it is. It's sort of like an optical illusion until you like really look at the image. There are the boys next to each other looking very, very great, right? You can see that Trunks is also, holy cow, he is so much taller than Gohan here, like literally a head taller than him. Holy moly. There's Vegeta. Again, very, very good looking. Let me actually get a zoom in on these. Dude, these look great. I think, honestly, maybe even base form Vegeta might look even better than Majin Vegeta. Majin Vegeta's mouth does look like it's a little high, though. I feel like it should be a little bit lower on his face. And Majin Vegeta here also has a lot of, like, roundedness on his face, which I feel like is very reminiscent of a specific art style that I've seen from Majin Vegeta that I can't quite put my finger on. Huh, I can't think of it, but nonetheless, I think these two definitely look very, very good. And then, of course, we have Goku and Frieza here. Again, looking very, very good, right? I think they look a lot better than the initial production images, which is great. You know, as per usual, you always want a figure to look better than, you know, the, like, original version of it. So that's good to see, as always. I actually completely forgot about this guy. The SH Figuarts Trunks is going to be releasing the 29th in Japan. I believe that this guy is going to retail around like 60, 70 bucks, something like that. He's a little bit more expensive because I think he comes with a bunch of stuff. And whereas Vegeta is going to be a lot more like basic, and I think just like a, you know, pretty basic SH Figuarts release. But nonetheless, definitely looking forward to this guy. And it's nice because, of course, again, the original SH Figuarts Trunks and the SH Figuarts Armored Vegeta. Holy cow, dude. Those guys are old, and they are really hard to find nowadays. So it's nice that they finally decided to make a re-release of them. Or I guess a remake would be the better way to say it. Moving up to here, the April Bam Presto Geo Geo store numbers. As you can see, Android 16, 108. Gotenks, 54. Vegeta, 6. Yes, 6. Which is crazy, to say the least. Goku and Vegeta out here struggling in these streets. Kind of funny, though, that Android 16 is actually the, you know, most ordered. But it just kind of goes to show you that figures that are, I guess I should say characters in this case, right, that are under commercialized, you know, at least in the modern era of Dragon Ball figure collections, sell a lot better because nobody's got figures of them, right? Everybody's got figures of Goku and Vegeta by this point, right? So the hardcore collectors aren't really interested in the new stuff as much. So, obviously, these, you know, under commercialized characters, and I mean, you know, if you're a Dragon Ball fan, I think you just appreciate it a little bit more. You have a couple Gokus and Vegetas, and you're like, oh, I want to span my horizons a little bit. So, nonetheless, very, very cool. Good on my boy, Android 16. This was kind of interesting. High-quality pics of the No, that's correct, I think. Techno Fun European Super Saiyan Blue Goku Alarm Clock. Kind of interesting. Kind of basic, right? Obviously, it's not crazy in terms of, like, the actual figure itself. This is definitely more, like, toy-esque sort of thing, right? But it is definitely very, very cute, right? Obviously, I don't think that this thing in terms of the figure, I mean, this is going to sound ridiculous, me even, like, mentioning this, but of course, this thing shouldn't be, like, treated on the same level as, like, a normal Prize or Ichiban Kuji figure in terms of, like, the quality. I think it's just a cute little, you know, like, gimmick thing, but it is very adorable, if I do say so myself. I will say, though, the packaging is kind of a little weird. Like, I swear I've seen this Chibi Goku render used somewhere else. I don't know where it's from. I can't pinpoint it. But I swear I've seen it somewhere before. Because I was kind of thinking, like, oh, the figure would look like this render. But then it kind of looks a little bit different than that. Maybe that's what they were going for. I'm not sure. I mean, it does have literally the same pose, even down to, like, the Obi belt there. But I will say the packaging does kind of look a little bit bootleggy with, like, this basic font that they use that's, like, just generic font. Like, I definitely have just seen this, like, in Photoshop or Microsoft Word or whatever, you know, it's like, it's interesting they kind of didn't use their own font for that. Very interesting, right? It kind of just feels like it's thrown on there. Graphic design is my passion type of vibe. You get what I'm saying? Nonetheless, though, still very, very cute. This is a little bit unfortunate news, if I do say so myself. It looks like the Bam Presto overseas exclusives have completely stopped now, not just for Dragon Ball, but for everything, every single figure. It seems like they are not making anything with the Manga Dimensions moniker anymore, and it seems like they're also not making anything with the Grandista Nero or Grandista, you know, in general, moniker anymore, right? This guy, funny enough, was even asking, is the Grandista line dead? Which is really a shame, because yeah, he was right? Like, the Ultimate Gohan last year is one of, right, if not one of the best figures. I was going to say one of, if not the best figure from last year. I forget if it was number 1 on my list or not. I'd have to rewatch that video, but it was easily like in the top 10. I mean, literally it wasn't my top 10, ironically enough, or top 5 rather, but this is very much so a shame, because not only did I think both of these were cool with these like overseas exclusives, obviously it was like, oh, you know, we're getting a little bit 11, you know, getting some exclusive stuff over here that Japan doesn't always get. And I really liked Manga Dimensions. I thought it was a cool concept. Obviously getting these, you know, like sort of really interesting paint jobs on the figures, right? Very, very cool, very manga-esque. I have a couple of figures from the Manga Dimensions line. I think it's very cool. I know it's not for everybody, but I was definitely quite a big fan of it. And of course, Grandista Nero was just a very cool figure line because, you know, it just took already existing Grandista figures and retooled them into a different transformation, which I know Bandai does like to do a lot lately, but with Grandista, it felt a little bit more special, at least, and it felt a little bit more, like, genuine than how they do it nowadays. So it's kind of a shame to see, especially considering the Grandista Nero line barely got anything. The only 3 that I can think off the top of my head are they made a base form version of the original Super Saiyan and Majin Vegeta Grandista figure. Blue Gogeta got a Super Saiyan version. And Goku, the original one, I don't know if you would take it from the Super Saiyan one or the base one, because, you know, before they did the Nero line, he got a base and a Super Saiyan 1, but they did Super Saiyan 3, which is one of my favorite figures of all time. It's literally sitting next to my bed. I wake up every day and look at him, basically. So it is kind of a shame to see that both of these lines are gone, and, you know, Grandista, by and large, is basically just done now. Hopefully they will bring it back in the future, then that would be awesome, but I mean, to be fair, right? If they are going to butcher it, like sometimes they tend to do with some of the Dragon Ball figures that they make nowadays, I would much rather just say, hey, the line had a very good run, had a lot of fantastic figures come out in its time. Very cherished line by a bunch of Dragon Ball collectors such as myself. It's, you know, by far my favorite figure line, I think, of all time. You know, maybe with GX Materia, rather, is a close second, but just very unfortunate news there, for sure. This is pretty cute. From GEE, a US 8-inch Chi-Chi plush. I know that they like to make these plushes sort of like in this style. I see these all the time when I go into like anime stores and stuff. They are very, very cute, and this is definitely an adorable plush of Chi-Chi here. I know Chi-Chi also just like doesn't get any merch, so it's cool to see something for Chi-Chi at least. Moving on from that, we do have a couple of clean production images for Goku and Frieza here, and the 2 Frieza forms as well. Definitely looking very, very nice. Again, like, I'm not really too interested in this entire set since it's going to be so expensive. Like, I was thinking, okay, maybe I would like it, but nonetheless, right, I think this is definitely just like the one figure that I would really like to get, because obviously this is just such an iconic piece of art. And moving on up, we do have some images of the figures for August, right? Some clean, high-quality production images for Orange Pickle. Look at my goat, bro. Whew! My man looks so crazy. I think at the bottom, yeah, I was going to say, here's a clean white background. It's so weird that they have this one, and I've only seen, like, a front-facing one with these, like, shadows, and then the rest of them are, like, normal like this. This is the first time I think I've actually seen him with the white background. He looks really, really good. I think they definitely captured the coloring very, very well on my man too. This will also look pretty cool because the plastic is kind of clear, or I guess it's more like PVC, right, for the flames. I think that you might actually be able to sort of like shine a light through there, and then by shining the light through there, you could get a little bit of a glow on the fire. That they kind of do like in the effects, not in these, but like in those specialty production images that we saw before. That could definitely be something that you could probably get by doing a little bit of light on that, so that's pretty neat. We do have the GX Materia Master Roshi. Again, we kind of looked at him earlier, but nonetheless, still looks very cool. The BOS Future Gohan, which, by the way, I posted this particular image on Twitter saying, dog, tell me this doesn't look like Nano, and all of you agreed. So I'm glad it wasn't just me that thought that that looked like Nanogenics. But yeah, definitely a little bit of an interesting sculpt on my man. Again, I'm going to have to wait to see him from some different angles. Hopefully we get a very good Future Gohan without an arm at some point too, because that would be pretty cool. But Trunks also looking very, very nice. And I think that's everything for the high quality production images there anyway. I believe there is one more tweet here. Yes, some more final pictures of the Guinea Force here. I think we have a couple other ones too. Again, dude, it's just such a shame that this set is so expensive, because honestly, like, I think these look pretty good, if I do say so myself. I know we took a look at a while ago that some of them had some quality control issues, but obviously, you know, sometimes that happens on figures, and sometimes that can just be a couple, not necessarily all of them. But I mean, I think overall they look pretty decent. So I think it's just a real shame that these are, you know, super expensive, because honestly, I might have copped this whole set if they weren't that expensive, right? Because it would be really cool to just have a full set of the Guinea Force. Granted, I would definitely prefer a figure where they were all in like the iconic poses, but still a pretty cool set nonetheless. April, Bam Presto initial game station numbers. Android 16, 610. My boy is killing it out here, bro. Gotenks, 419, and Vegeta, 264. Yeah, there's definitely a bit of an oof. Vegeta and Goku struggles to continue doing interesting Vegeta figures. Seems to have come a little late, it seems. 16 definitely smashed through it. Yeah, I hope that that doesn't mean the end, because obviously, you know, I mean, I think they'll always make Goku and Vegeta figures, right? But, you know, it is kind of a shame to see that they're, like, really, you know, lacking in that department. I mean, I think it also doesn't help the fact that, like, some of the first superhero figures that we got were Goku and Vegeta. And I know for me personally, I've just kind of been like, man, I don't want to buy no Goku and Vegeta after that little fiasco, personally, for me. But nonetheless, still happy to see Android 16 doing very, very well, it seems. This was also interesting here. The Dragon Ball Gashapon Collection Volume 2, scheduled for July or August. The image below is of Volume 1. Oh, okay, I see. So we don't have the image of Volume 2. And apparently, no Gashapon figures scheduled is what this says. Very, very interesting. So I guess we'll have to see what Volume 2 actually ends up looking like. Here is some more IRL pictures of these two. Dude, he looks great. I think he looks super good. Let me know in the comments what you think of him. I definitely think the base form one like looks a little bit better than Majin Vegeta. Maybe it's just because of the lighting, but I feel like his head looks very round. But he still looks great, I think, nonetheless. I'm definitely very excited for these two, for sure. Definitely excited to get these guys in hand. I also only own, I think, like one base form Vegeta figure, so that'll be pretty cool. Ironically enough, it's also in the Boo outfit because it's the Grandista one. That's kind of funny. We have, yeah, so this was interesting here. As you can see, we actually have some information about the Matchmakers Goku and Frieza. As you can see, the homie Joe, who we have talked about a couple of times on this series before. Let's actually here. I can click into the actual image here, and then that way we can have the translation appear like on the side rather than have it appear like right over the actual image of the figure, because that's kind of annoying. Let me take a drink of water real quick before we read this. Hydrate or dihydrate, baby. Alright, scheduled to appear in May 2023, I made the prototype of the Dragon Ball Z Matchmakers Frieza. I made it so that you can be a... Wait. I made it so that it can be a picture side by side with Son Goku that appeared in the same month. Got you. Okay. Google Translate was tripping me up there a little bit. So it seems that the notorious, and not notorious in a bad way, the Smallfoot sculptor Joe, who has been doing a ton of Dragon Ball figures recently, has been doing some work for the Matchmakers series, particularly this Frieza. So that is pretty cool to see. Definitely, he did a good job on Frieza. I think he looks very good. Other interesting thing that Joe notes here, this particular image seems to be the origin of where this came from. Let's see. From the strategy book poster for Dragon Ball Z Genki Shin Frieza. Excuse me, I burped. That's my dinner right there. He's the Dragon Ball game that I personally played the most in the Famicom software. I want to play it again after a long time. Yeah, so it seems that this art was directly based off of this poster. And this also might just be like a panel from the manga. I actually don't remember. But nonetheless, right? Very cool. You can kind of see the origins of some of the figures here, and like where they came from in the art they're based off of. So that's pretty cool. It would be awesome if you had like the original poster. I mean, obviously Joe has this because, you know, it seems like he's a bit of a collector himself. Looks in incredible condition, by the way. Like, holy cow, for how old this is, that's insane that it looks that nice. But nonetheless, right, it would be really cool to like hang up this poster on your wall somehow, and then like have the figures in front of it, especially being the guy who made the figures, dude. That would be crazy. That's living the dream right there. Anyhow, besides Joe, for Goku, we actually have this individual who is, I believe, somebody that we've talked about a few times on the series before. He is, again, as far as I am aware, a newer sculptor to the game, but he seems to have sculpted Goku here. As you can see, scheduled to appear in May 2023, the Dragon Ball Z Matchmaker's Son Goku, which is pretty cool. He was the one who was responsible for Goku on this one, and it seems that also the Trunks figure was also his work, which is very, very interesting. I'm sure if we go to his profile, we could probably check out some of the other stuff that he's made. Yeah, he was also responsible for Majin Vegeta and Gotenks here, as well as the BOS special Gohan as well. So it's interesting, right? This is definitely something that you could go through and look a little bit deeper and kind of like analyze different aspects of this figure to sort of like see the consistency through their work, right? And notice some similarities through the different like aspects of their sculpting, right? I think one thing that's easy to point out is like their pants, with how much detail they include on the folds of the pants, right? That seems to be pretty consistent with all of their figures, which is kind of interesting. But yeah, nonetheless though, very, very cool to see like the actual people who worked on this type of stuff like talking about it, because, you know, I feel like you don't always get that sort of thing, so it's pretty neat if I do say so myself. Okay, so a couple of interesting things here. The Mini Cardass returns this July, which is very, very interesting. Dragon Ball, I'm assuming this is the like original, because this looks like quite the old little bit of promo art here. I can't even see a date on this, honestly. I don't see one. Even, you know, I'm trying to use my my skills of looking through the Japanese text here, and I really don't see it. But I'm pretty sure that this is just an old scan that Baggy is sort of using as a little bit of, you know, like reference material here. And this is actually what we were talking about beforehand with those little acrylic stands. Very, very interesting. First of all, interesting that they're using the Dragon Ball Super moniker, considering nothing here is Dragon Ball Super. Not a thing. Not a single piece of art here is Dragon Ball Super. Why they named that, why they put Dragon Ball Super on there, I don't know. But this is very cool. Obviously, this is a bunch of clear acrylic stands of some very old Toriyama art. Whether it be Kid Goku or Z-era Goku, these are pretty cool. I know Japan always loves these acrylic stands, right? Bandai. Japanese fans are always seemingly really, really hyped about these sort of things. I know here in the West, we're not too big on them, but I know I see these type of things like all the time. So nonetheless, they're pretty cool, and I mean, obviously, it's a pretty cool way to get some of this art in like an official means. Like, I would definitely love to have that one of Goku on the motorcycle Looking backwards, specifically the one in the bottom left, that is pretty cool. Saying that, I realized there was 4 that included Goku with a motorcycle on it. But anyway, these are pretty cool. Definitely going to be curious to see if I could maybe snag one of these on eBay or something like that. Also, Gotenks just feels so out of place here. Like, all of these are, you know, either Goku related or like Goku vehicle related. I mean, obviously, except for like this OG Dragon Ball manga cover with Shinron here, right? What's my man doing, bro? Who invited my bud? Anyhow, moving up even further, this was something else that's just kind of unfortunate. That was something else to note here. Yeah, definitely kind of interesting, right? Over half a decade and counting, and still no commercially available Kale figure, which is absolutely insane to me, dude. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, Baggy is 100% right. Like, a good 70% of DBS has been left unmerched, which is crazy. For years and years, he scouted Kale, Caulifla, and Kaba to at least get a standard Gashpon, but nothing. Yeah, it's really unfortunate. Yeah, everything month for a couple of years, they had 2 or 3 Gashpon servers. Without fail, I always voted for these 3 when they asked the characters people wanted. Yeah, closest we ever got was the high grade Kefla and a Kaba UDM re-release. Very, very unfortunate. It's kind of weird. Yeah, and this guy notes too, right? These are 2 characters that I've also thought about myself. That's kind of weird that we don't have figures of them. For Ichiban Guji or Banpresto, there's no hit or merge Zamasu, and those are like 2 of the most popular characters from Dragon Ball Super, right? So it's just so weird to me that they don't have merchandise. And what's so funny to me is, I remember, I'm surprised Baggy didn't mention it in this tweet because he talks about it all the time, but I remember, like, in the beginning when these characters were made, like, they talked about how, or they, meaning like just, I don't know, people in general, I guess, right? Like, you know, just Dragon Ball fans in general who are talking about merch, and, you know, like we're talking about Kale and Caulifla, it was like, oh, the only reason they exist is to make merchandise of them. And like, that's a fine thing to say, but clearly that's not true, because there's still no figures of them. I think the only figures that we ever got of those 3, besides the couple things that Baggy mentioned there, were the minifigures. The name of them is escaping me. There's literally some on my desk. Oh, WCF. I don't know why I couldn't remember the name of them. The WCF figures, right? I think there was like a Universe 6 pack, and I think that was technically like the only... Funny enough, Zamasu and Hit as well, speaking on them. Kind of weird that they just have such a lack of figures. Like, that's the reason why I bought the SH Figuarts Kefla, right? Was because, like, literally the only Kefla figures, as far as I'm aware, is that one. The Funko Pop, which I also am looking at on my desk, is next to Kefla. And then the high grade one, and I think that's like all of the Keflas. I mean, there might be a UDM out there or something like that, but man, that is just crazy to me that they did not commercialize these, especially with how popular these characters are, right? Like Hit, Zamasu, Kale, Caulifla, and Kefla. I don't know, man. I just don't get it. It feels like such a waste of money to not release stuff of like these new characters that people are interested in. And now it's like, it's obviously way too late to like capitalize on that hype. I mean, like, of course people would still be interested because, you know, they don't have figures at all, but still, it's just such a weird marketing decision, dude. Very, very strange to me. The other thing, unfortunate with Vegeta here, right? It's pretty disheartening how low these Solid Edgeworks Vegeta Game Station orders were. And I agree, right? Because it's arguably one of the best Vegeta prize figures that we've gotten, right? And the finals look very, very nice, right? I kind of agree with Baggy here. You know, a lot of years of just these basically, you know, very similar, same old Vegeta and Goku figures kind of, you know, once we finally get something that's a little bit more interesting, you know, it kind of kills the hype for them, because obviously, you know, longtime collectors see this and it's like, yeah, I don't need another Goku Vegeta. So just kind of unfortunate, to say the least on that. By the way, I know this isn't figure news, but holy cow, that's a sick art. Okay, so we actually have some official images of the DB Item Collection 2 and the August Mini Cardass revealed. So as you can see here, for the Gashapon items, lots of cool stuff here throughout Dragon Ball's history, actually. We have two different Scouters, the red and green version. We have Master Roshi's shell and stick combo, his staff. We have the jar that the Mafuba was used with. We have Trunks' sword, which looks like here you can see that the sword actually goes into the scabbard, which both of them look like they stand on this little stand, which is really cool. Actually, no, I take this back. I don't think that this is the jar. This is actually a jar of sensu beans. That's right. I'm pretty sure, isn't this from when he climbs Korin's tower? Right? And he has like the jar of sensu beans. I'm pretty sure that's what that actually is. I apologize. I every time I see a jar in regards to any like Dragon Ball related item, I immediately think Mafuba. So forgive me for that. And the Tabora cookie, which is actually really cool. Yeah, you can definitely see it says sensu bean right there. But yeah, very, very cool to say the least. That is pretty neat. Also, again, strange that they call this Dragon Ball Super, because again, none of this has anything to do with Dragon Ball Super. I mean, obviously, like, Trunks' sword is in Dragon Ball Super, and, like, probably there's a Scouter in there at some point, but, like, you get my point, right? Like, obviously, this is, like, Z and Dragon Ball stuff. And here is the Dragon Ball Cardass Mini. Interesting that they are bringing this back, because obviously this seems like a pretty old, sort of Dragon Ball thing, but to be fair, Dragon Ball Cardass has kind of been making a pretty big comeback in terms of these cards lately, it seems. I've seen a lot of items related to them being re-released recently, so I'm sure that they're just capitalizing on the hype of, you know, the nostalgia factor for these cards. But pretty cool to say the least. I don't exactly know what these are. I might have to look on some of my like Japanese Dragon Ball merch channels to kind of get a little bit more information on these. I'm assuming it's like you get this little mini Gashapon machine and then it like prints out one of these little cards or something like that. Again, I'm honestly not too sure. And if you want to let me know in the comments, definitely let me know, because I've actually never seen this or heard about these before, but pretty cool. I know a lot of you have been waiting for this one, and honestly, I have been pretty highly anticipating seeing the images of these guys myself. We have the Dragon Stars, Gohan Beast, and Omega Shenron pictures here. So obviously these are a little bit low quality. So like if I take this image and zoom in on it, obviously it's not going to be a crazy quality. But overall thoughts on Gohan Beast? I mean, he's okay. I think the thing is with this, right? I think I gotta just attribute this to a little bit of like the Dragon Stars figure style, right? Again, I always like to emphasize these are pretty cheap figures. They come at about 20 bucks a pop. You're basically paying what you're getting, right? You're getting more of an action figure rather than like a collectible figure, even though obviously a lot of people do these as collectibles. He definitely has a little bit of that Dragon Stars face going on, right? Where it kind of looks a little bit weird. For some reason, a lot of the human characters for Dragon Stars kind of look a little bit weird. But I feel like all like the monsters and aliens from Dragon Ball tend to look really good. But nonetheless, obviously, he looks okay overall, right? The very low-cut shirt is something that I see a lot of the Dragon Stars line do for characters that have this cut in their gi, which I think is kind of interesting. The hair looks alright. Not the best Gohan Beast hair that I've ever seen. It's very, like, ratty, I guess you would say. It doesn't feel like it's, like, these big, full spikes. And the sort of bang on the front doesn't really look as full as I've seen it in, like, official stuff, and not to mention on other figures. But again, it's not bad. It's basically what I would expect from a Dragon Stars figure. And again, right, the whole point of these is they're supposed to be, like, action figures, you know? If you gave this to a kid who loves Dragon Ball, they would lose their mind. I would, if I was a kid, right, growing up in this era of Dragon Ball, right, and I got this as a Christmas present, this Gohan Beast figure, I would go nuts playing with this thing. Are you kidding me? So obviously for that purpose, right, I think it works just fine. But again, it's just not for me, right? And I mean, to be fair, I'm also not really the intended audience for it either. Cool that he does come with some extra hands, though. As you can see, he does come with the closed fist and some little bit of open palm hands. And they actually bothered to include the Masenko, which is cool, even though he doesn't have alternate face plates. You know, so like the Masenko obviously would be him screaming. He just has like this neutral face. That is really cool that they include the pointing hands, because obviously, you know, that is very iconic from the movie. So very cool that they included that in there at all. And then we have Omega Shinron. And I gotta be honest, I actually think he looks really good. Again, I don't know what it is with Dragon Stars. I feel like nailing the like more alien sort of monster characters from Dragon Ball. And I mean, he is very action figure-y, right? Rather than like a high-end collectible figure or like an SH figure arts figure, right? Like all of these different joint pieces that you can kind of see on the figure, right? But overall, I think he looks pretty good. I mean, I would have definitely preferred a different expression, for sure, rather than just like this frowny face, I guess, right? I feel like Omega Shinron doesn't even really hit a frowny face that often. I feel like he's like smiling maniacally a lot more often than not. Even the Omega figure behind me I'm looking at, and the boy's got a big cheesy grin on his face. So I don't know. I would have definitely preferred a different expression, but I don't think he's bad. I think he's pretty good overall. And the other thing I will say is he does look fairly articulated for a Dragon Stars figure, because I don't really see that with Gohan. Well, no, I guess his legs do kind of do that. They have like a little bit of those, you know, leg joints that I've been seeing in SH figure arts where they kind of give him a little bit more movement. But to be fair, since this guy is so bulky, right, it makes sense that he's not going to have as much articulation. Although, I don't know, with the way that his arms are sculpted, he might. It depends on how the joints are there, right? Like if you could actually almost lift it all the way up or not. It depends on, you know, like where the actual mechanics are inside the figure. But yeah, I mean, overall, I'm kind of impressed with this guy, to be honest with you. I think he looks pretty good. I might consider picking this guy up because I don't know if they'll ever do a Omega Shinron figure. I mean, at this point, we definitely have a good chance, considering that they've done a Super Saiyan 4 Goku and Vegeta. So I think it's only, you know, like a matter of time until we get a Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta. And I mean, he's also like a fan favorite, so it would not surprise me if they did that and then released an Omega to go along with him, right? But I don't know. We'll have to see. Definitely pretty interesting, though, to say the least. Definitely pretty cool, though. Let me know what you think in the comments. Quick little packaging for the big man, or I guess I should say small man in this case. The Dragon Ball Adverge 16 packaging, as you can see, here's what it looks like with the boy Gohan Beast on the front. I will say, I kind of feel like that they could have made his hair even a little bit bigger. Like, I kind of feel like they shafted my man. Like, I know it's a Dragon Ball Adverge figure, and the whole point is that they're supposed to be like minifigures, but I still feel like they could have made it a little bit bigger. Nonetheless, though, very, very cute. Quick little piece of information for those of you in the UK. The Ichiban Kujis are going to be held out Forbidden Planet International stores, so not the main FB stores people know. My Hero Rushing is what this is called, is up first. Started as Saturday. Ticket price is unknown, but 20% will be donated to charity, so I can't complain if it's 10 euros or more. That's pretty cool, though. So basically what this means is if you live in the UK and you go to whatever this store is, again, I'm an American, so I wouldn't know, but you can actually go and play this Ichiban Kuji. You can go and potentially win these figures from the actual like ticket lottery. So that's pretty cool. Definitely, if any of you actually tried that in the UK, certainly let me know. That would be really, really cool to see. Maybe I'll hit some of my homies up in the UK and see if they can play this. I'm actually going to like that tweet, so I can ask that for later. There is one more thing that I wanted to note in this section. Here we go. So this is what I was talking about, that I know that they took some screenshots from the Dragon Ball Figure Weekly News that I saw this later on. Kyorin, I think that's how you pronounce your name. I apologize if it's not. Just basically like screenshotted the Dragon Ball Weekly News images of the Ginyu Force here. And again, like, they look solid, right? Very, very good. Like, look at the sculpt quality and, like, the skin detail and the shading on Raccoon. My man looking fresh. Very, very nice, right? Looks great. Ginyu looks good too, right? Obviously, keep in mind, these are zoomed in images, so it's going to look a little bit like low quality in terms of the image. I do see that Ginyu's horns are a little bit wilting there, which is kind of unfortunate to see in terms of the quality. But overall, I mean, I think he looks all right. And gosh dang, bro, that man looks sick. This is probably the figure that I was cited for the most, ironically enough, which I know is basically just a Goku with a scouter, but it is technically Ginyu Goku. I don't know. I just think it's really cool personally. Definitely going to try and import this one. Unfortunately, this one will be the hardest to get because obviously this is the last one prize. And this is actually the end of our excursion for this episode of Dragon Ball Figure News. So, thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Definitely let me know what your favorite figure was from this bi-weekly episode. Definitely curious to hear your thoughts on all of the IRL pictures that we saw of Gohan Beast, Majin Vegeta, Trunks, the movie 9 Gohan, all that good stuff. Definitely let me know all your thoughts in the comment section below, what you are planning on picking up going forward here. I would definitely love to hear it. I am very excited because I will say, even though I feel like, you know, in terms of sales and stuff like that, Dragon Ball figures haven't been doing as well lately, I gotta say, I feel like at least on the Bam Presto side of things, things have been kind of improving, because I know when Bandai bought them, it kind of felt like it was going downhill, but I feel like we've been getting a lot of interesting figures lately, and even though there's still a lot of quality control issues, I still feel like it's better than it was at that very low point. It's definitely not as good as it was at the high point, but by golly, if there's anything positive that I can take away, I'll do it. So thank you guys for watching. I will catch you guys in the next one, and again, definitely check out those 2 unboxing videos if you have not yet, because I don't think YouTube's pushing them out as much as these videos, because obviously this is kind of what I was focusing on a little bit more for a while here. So yeah, definitely though, thank you guys so much for watching. Of course, links to both Baggy and DBZ figures in the comment section below, and comment section in the description below. I'm losing my marbles. I'll see you guys in the next one. Dokkan Assets out. Peace.